How about some teams that have more work to do over the balance of the 2021 offseason? Charean, I'll give you the first crack at identifying a team that needs to do more work and why.
Well, we talked about Washington having one of the better off seasons in the NFC. I would say the Cowboys still have a lot of work to do to improve on their off season. They did accomplish their biggest goal, which was re-signing Dak Prescott to a long-term deal. I'll give them that one. But as far as improving this roster, I don't know that they've done that so far, Mike. They've just not made a lot of moves. Yes, they've re-signed Jordan Lewis. Yeah, he's your nickel corner. Okay. They signed safety Keanu Neal. They got him. He may play outside linebacker for them. We'll see what they do with him. They got a backup offensive tackle. They just haven't done a whole lot. You saw how much the backup quarterback was important to them last year. They don't have that. They lost Andy Dalton, and they still need a ton of defensive help. I mean, this is a franchise that set the franchise record for points allowed in a season. 473 points they gave up. They were horrible at stopping the run. They've neglected the three technique, and they've neglected the safety position forever. So they have got to improve at both of those positions. So we know last year they passed up the getting defensive help in the first-round pick when CeeDee Lamb fell to them. I have a hard time arguing that CeeDee Lamb wasn't the pick there, but they've got to do a better job of getting defensive help in this draft if they're going to be a better team on the field this year.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, and I still continue to have misgivings about how they handled Dak Prescott. As I explained it in a post yesterday, they waited too long, and then they didn't wait long enough. That cap money could have gone to address other areas. I'm a little surprised they retained Ezekiel Elliott and guaranteed his salary for next year. This is just a team that I know that every year there's this sense that on paper they're going to be really good, but I feel like there is more that they need to do. There are more weaknesses than they will ever admit. And I think what happens is when you are so premised on hyping your team, sometimes you start to believe the hype instead of acknowledging where the very real flaws are and getting to work on addressing them. The Seahawks have tried to address some of their weaknesses. I'm looking at the list of the free agents they've signed, and I don't want to be disrespectful to these players, but there's nobody they've signed that makes me say, wow, that is going to make all the difference. Wow, that guy's going to make all the difference. I'm not saying they should have overpaid to keep Shaquille Griffin at corner, who signed a 3-year deal, $45 million-ish, I think, with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's hard not to have all these numbers blend together. But, a couple of pass rushers. Okay, Kerry Hyder wasn't bad, but I just... Between that and the lingering question of what Russell Wilson wants, and does he want to be part of the team, and are they going to reconfigure their overall philosophy to cater to Russell Wilson, I just feel like this team is kind of in quicksand and they've got their hands on a rope, and we're not quite sure whether they're going to be able to pull themselves out of it. I feel like that's where they are right now. And there's nothing they've done in the offseason that screams out upgrade, that screams out we're taking the next step, we're moving to the next level. They kept Chris Carson. Well, there's a reason Chris Carson wasn't pounced upon by other teams. He's a running back who can't stay healthy. You can't bank on a running back who can't stay healthy. And this isn't a criticism. Some running backs can stay healthy, some can't. It's a difficult position to play. Guys get injured. Some guys are just constituted differently than others, and they can take that pounding. They need a Marshawn Lynch. They can't find a Marshawn Lynch. So they renew their vows with Chris Carson and what? Hope that he all of a sudden, after years of wear and tear, is going to be better equipped to avoid being injured as he puts more wear and tear on his body. I just, for a team that I still think will be a playoff contender and likely make the playoffs because of Pete Carroll, I look at the pieces and I say you got to do more if you want to be more than just a team that makes it to the wild card round and maybe, if you're lucky, gets to the divisional round.
Well, and I go back, Mike, to what Russell Wilson said right after the season, which I want to see this offensive line upgraded. Did Gabe Jackson alone do that? I assume they're going to spend some draft picks on some offensive linemen and maybe sign some other free agents out there, but I don't know that there's going to be any free agents out there who are going to come in and help this offensive line. So I don't know that they've upgraded the one position that Russell Wilson said he wanted to see them improve upon, right, Mike? I just don't know that Gabe Jackson, it makes that big of a difference for Russell Wilson to keep him from getting sacked a record number of times.
Yeah, and the bottom line is the Raiders didn't want to keep Gabe Jackson for a reason. All right, give me another team, Charean, that needs to do more work.
Well, guess what, Mike? The Packers signed their first free agent today and their second free agent today, and the first one was a long snapper I'd never heard of, and the reason is he's never played in the NFL before. So they did get a tight end in Mercedes Lewis, but this is a team that just hasn't done anything. And again, you go back to Aaron Rodgers' comments at the end of the season about wanting to have a say in personnel and upgrade. To me, the best move they've made is keep Aaron Jones. But again, we're talking about a running back. You can find running backs. I know he fits our offense. I know he scored, 30 touchdowns over the last 2 years, but that's not a prime position. I just don't think when I look at this roster that it's upgraded at all over last year. And to me, there's still a huge gap, maybe bigger than even what there was in the NFC Championship game between the Packers and the Buccaneers.
I continue to be fascinated. The more I think about it, write about it, talk about it, the decision not to do a full-blown restructuring of Aaron Rodgers' contract to create cap space that could be used to sign other players, and that also, if they did the maximum reconfiguration of his compensation this year, reduce his salary to the minimum of $1.075 million, it would have made it impossible for the Packers to trade him before June 1 of 2022, which would have gone a long way toward giving him the security he wants. You know, usually that restructuring is a benefit to the team. The player, all you get out of it is we created cap space and I get all my money now. I was going to get it anyway. In this case, given the magnitude of the restructuring they could have done with Aaron Rodgers, it would have created a cap charge of $33 million next year, not $17 million, to trade him before June 1, which would have given him, I think, what he wanted. So they haven't placated him, which I don't think they want to, so I can't really fault them for that. But they've still got this vague, awkward issue with Aaron Rodgers. They've done nothing to bring in more players that are going to help Aaron Rodgers in the passing game. Yeah, Devin Funchess is back. He opted out last year. That really isn't a significant upgrade for the Green Bay Packers. I think that if they do want to take that next step and not just fizzle out in the NFC Championship after a 13-3 season for the third straight year, they got to do more. And there's only so much they can do. And you can say, oh, they kept Aaron Jones. Well, okay, fine. But again, you're treading water. You're not speeding up. They are in a position where we want to see them go next level because they are right there on the cusp. They are in the process of knocking on the door. What are they going to do to kick it in? The 49ers were in that spot a couple of years ago. This is my other choice. And the main reason I picked the 49ers is I don't believe they're content with the quarterback position. And they so far have not addressed it. I know that they'll say all the right things. The players will say all the right things, whether it's George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, or anyone else. Of course, they're going to say positive things about their teammate. John Lynch will say the right things. Kyle Shanahan will say the right things. I think they continue to search for someone who is dollar for dollar better than Jimmy Garoppolo. They don't want to pay him $25 million this year. $25 million is unjustified given the fact that he has missed more games over the last 3 seasons than he's won as a starter during his time with the 49ers. You can't rely on him to stay healthy. Even if he plays all games this year like he did in 2019, that's not going to prove me wrong. He's missed too many games between 2018 and 2020. The way the rules are, aimed at protecting quarterbacks, you got to be more reliable by way of showing up and playing. Why do you hate Jimmy Garoppolo? I don't hate Jimmy Garoppolo. I like analyzing things. I like looking at a situation and saying, what can be done to make this team better? And Charean, until they address their quarterback situation, the San Francisco 49ers still have work to do.
I still think, Mike, that we're going to have some quarterback moves coming up, whether it's before the draft or during the draft or soon after the draft, because if the Jets take a quarterback, I mean, you can almost count that Sam Darnold's going to be elsewhere. If they trade him to the 49ers, and Jimmy Garoppolo's going to be elsewhere, maybe in New England, wherever. So I still think we're going to have some moves. Deshaun Watson still could be moved at some point before the end of this season. So we're going to see some of these quarterbacks, I think, move around, Mike, before this is all said and done in 2021.
Yeah, I think Darnold is the guy that they're watching, and the Jets first have to decide they're going to move on from him. The Jets have to decide when they're going to try to trade him. I continue to believe the window to watch is the 18 hours from the completion of round 1 of the draft to the start of round 2, the Josh Rosen cycle. That's when I think we see Sam Darnold possibly being traded, and that's where the 49ers could pick him up. And then just like that, Jimmy Garoppolo would be gone. I don't think they'd trade him. Who's going to pay him $25 million this year? He'd be cut. There's no reason for him to accept a pay cut to facilitate a trade. Just say, cut me, and I'll pick my next team. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.